First time, I think, if I recall correctly, was at Mukesh Bhai Ambani's house when he had come at the inauguration of the HN Reliance Hospital. The inauguration, in the sense that since Reliance had taken over the hospital, it had been refurbished, and I think so, to celebrate that, he had come down for that, and I think that's the first time that I met him. What was very heartening at that particular evening was that I was standing behind, in the second row, and in the front were the leading luminaries of the Indian industry. And me, with my height, was, but he saw me and he put his hand across, and he said, Gavaskar ji, kaise hai aap? How are you? That was really heartening. That, despite the fact that there were all these really tall leaders, not that he ignored them, but he also, could, said hello. That was very heartening. So I think VVS Lakshman Kapil, myself, had flown to Australia because, not obviously with the Prime Minister, but uh, with the help of the ministry, who had asked us to, be there for that particular sector of the trip. I think he was also going to Fiji and some other countries. And this was, if I recall correctly, it was the first ever trip by an Indian Prime Minister to Australia, which in itself was amazing. That all these years, no Indian Prime Minister had gone to Australia, and there was a dinner at the Melbourne cricket ground, at the ground itself. They have lovely, lovely, reception halls, etc. So it was over there. But before that, there was a photo opportunity. There were three Australian players as well. Steve Waugh, Glenn McGrath was there, and so it was a photograph with the six of us: the Australian Prime Minister, the Indian Prime Minister, and because the World Cup was to be played in Australia in a couple of months' time. Both the trophies were there. The India was also supposed to go to Australia in a short while after that trip, but to play in the Border Gavaskar Trophy. So the Border Gavaskar Trophy was there, and the World Cup was there, and both the prime ministers were there, and he held the World Cup, and and I remember saying at that stage that it was the right trophy to hold, because the World Cup comes every 4 years. The Border Gavaskar Trophy is every 2 years, home and away every 2 years. 2 years in India, 2 years later in Australia. So it was, the one that comes every 4 years, every quarter, was the one he was holding. And it was quite a nice exchange, with the Australian Prime Minister. It was just a nice, evening. And so it was actually, and at the iconic Melbourne cricket ground. So it really was special. He just laughed, uh, and because they were not the security that is normally around heads of state. I was able to have a conversation with him, a conversation where I requested some time to meet up with him to to talk about the what I call my third innings in life, which is along with the Sai Sanjeevani hospitals, to try and save the lives of children born with congenital heart defects. So I wanted uh, to meet him, and I requested, can I have a meeting with you, just to 20 minutes meeting with you, but to along with the chairman of the trust, and he said, of course, not a problem at all. And then I also suggested that I was going to be in Delhi on certain dates, and whether those dates suited him. And he said, yes, Parliament will be on, but we will still, don't worry, we will still be able to find a date. And that was it. And I am now, because there was nobody around, just the two prime ministers and the players. We were a little bit away, and this is a remarkable thing, and is that I said to him, Ki, sir, who should I contact to take this further? He said, आपने बोल दिया ठीक है. And so I mean, I didn't know there were other officials there, and who I bumped into during the dinner, and I was checking with them. Should I contact you? Should I contact you? And they said no, no. If he said it'll be fine. And sure enough, about 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, we were in Singapore at that time, and I was part of the franchise called Singapore Slammers, which was playing in the International Tennis Premier League. And I got a call from the Prime Minister's office saying that you had, requested the Honorable Prime Minister for a meeting on such and such a date. Would you still be able to make it? I said, of course, I'd be able to make it, because the next leg of the International Tennis Premier League was in Delhi. So I was going to be able to make it. And I mean, that was remarkable because look, a prime minister, he's got so many things on his mind, so many things on his mind, and yet to remember a request and not to forget it, because it's so easy. I mean, all of us, we might say something, yeah, I'll call you, simple thing like I'll call you, and we don't always remember. Not that we deliberately forget, but there are so many other things that can happen in the course of that day or in the course of the next few days that can take your mind away. But that really was something which I've never forgotten. And then when we met him, we requested him to come for the opening of the second the Sai Sanjeevani hospital. This was in Palwal in Haryana, which is about 70-80 minutes from Delhi. And he did it by I think remote. So again, that was a real big blessing for the hospital as well. So something that you can never forget is that despite all his busy situation and all the matters that would be weighing on his mind when you're the prime minister of the country, so many things that happen. But just to remember this request, I've never forgotten that. I'll never forget it as well. I think what was it was the I think at that particular time, um, um, Prime Minister Modi was gracious enough to allow his guest. The Australian Prime Minister was our guest, our country's guest, and he allowed him to take the center stage to an extent, allowing him to chat with us, some of the Indian players who were there, because obviously our Prime Minister can call us anytime, talk to us anytime. So that was very gracious of him, and that's how the Australian Prime Minister was talking to us. And Prime Minister Modi was just standing beside him and just generally smiling. So there was not much of a conversation with him at that stage, but it was the Australian Prime Minister who was talking a little bit about cricket during our time and current, etc. Not No, I don't think he has shared. He's aware of it, I'm sure, and he's aware also of the fact that India has been winning it for the last so many years, so many series, excepting the last series which we lost. But otherwise, the trophy has been in India for I think almost a decade. Had been in India for almost a decade now. No, we don't. Honestly, we don't. Whenever whatever conversation we've had has not been about cricket. It's been mainly about the hospitals, and he is very keen to have a hospital in Varanasi, and that is something that he sometimes has asked. There was an occasion when there was a foundation stone laying ceremony for the stadium in Varanasi that was to take place, and Sachin Tendulkar, Ravi Shastri, Kapil Dev, myself, Roger Penny, who was the president of the BCCI then, we were all called for the foundation stone laying ceremony, and the Honorable Prime Minister was to come. And I was thinking, how do I, broach the subject of the Varanasi hospital? The fact that we were having some issues with trying to uh, acquire the land that was needed and where, etc. And we were told the prime since the prime minister's program is pretty much second by second, minute by minute. We were told at that stage that when the honorable prime minister comes in, and when he comes, there was a model of the stadium there, and when he comes in, so and so should speak about. He will ask you about this, and you have to answer about this. So all of us were given specific things. Uh, Ravi Shastri was also there, so he was supposed to talk about how is the layout of the stadium in regards to commentary box and media. For Kapil Dev, it was how is the stadium for developing more all rounders and fast bowlers. Um, for Sachin Tendulkar also, it was how to develop batters, and for me as well. So things like that. And so basically, with that, and with barely a minute to be done, I was thinking, how do I broach the subject? And he came in, and he spoke to Ravi first, and the next, when he came to me, I was standing there. Came to me, his first question was, "Gavaskar ji, वो हॉस्पिटल का वाराणसी के हॉस्पिटल का क्या हो रहा है?" And I mean, so he actually saved me the bother of asking the question. And the UP CMD was also just behind him, uh, Yogi Adityanath ji. So I was able to say that yes, it is in process, and that Yogi ji is helping with that as well. And but it was almost like he knew what I was going to ask, and he preempted that by asking me that question. And then he spoke to Sachin, who was next to me, in Marathi. And then he turned around to me and asked me, how is my Marathi? So I said, your Marathi is as good as your Hindi, because his Hindi is exceptional, absolutely exceptional. And uh, I mean, I wish I could have answered in Hindi. I will try and answer some in Hindi, but because I think this is going to the wider audience, I'm trying to speak in a language which most will maybe relate to. No, to be honest, my meetings have been specific to the Sai Sanjeevani hospitals. So I haven't really had uh, the opportunity to discuss anything. I recognize the fact that he's a very busy person. I do not want to, take his time by talking about something else. If I've uh, been uh, privileged to have been given, some time to meet him, 15, 20 minutes, then I would rather talk about, what about the hospitals and what we are doing. So I don't really uh, talk about anything else. The only time I remember is once we had gone to him to invite him to inaugurate the Muddan Ali College uh, for medical college. Uh, Again, part of the Sai Sanjeevani mission. And over there, it was a question of um, asking him to come there, request him to come there, because this is a rare initiative where it's a college, medical college, totally free education for rural children, with the only proviso being that once they become doctors, they have to serve 5 years in a rural area, because rural children do not have the wherewithal, the money, etc., to be able to go to major cities and become doctors. So this is one of the initiatives which the Honorable Prime Minister appreciated, and so he came, and he inaugurated that hospital as well. So, but when we had gone to invite him for that, he had just come in from a trip to Argentina and South America. And so once the main part was over, and he seemed to be in a mood to talk to the other. I wasn't alone. There were the trustees, was there, the our mentor, Sadhguru Madhusudan Sai, was also there. And so I just happened, and he was looking absolutely totally fresh. despite the fact that it had been a long flight and he must have come in the early hours of the morning. And so I asked him, you travel so much. How do you, manage, with, jet lag and the change of body clock? And he said, look, I just try and on these flights, whatever it is, I just try and sleep according to the time over there. So if I'm going somewhere, say if he's going to South America, he'll sleep at a time when it is night in South Africa. So therefore, he then, when he lands over there, he doesn't have to make much of an adjustment as far as the body clock is concerned. And I thought that was fantastic advice. I travel a lot, but I somehow am not able to do it. But it was something where, because you want to be absolutely at your freshest. And as the prime minister, head of the state, you've also got to be at your sharpest when you're meeting your counterparts in the other countries. And therefore, I think this is superb advice. But he was also very uh, anxious to know how we are going to not only the Varanasi hospital, how we are going to try and expand so that more and more children can be given this totally free of cost surgeries. There are other hospitals as well which will charge a fee, whatever the fee is, and which is understandable. But our hospitals give this totally free of cost to children born with congenital heart defects, and they are generally born in the interiors, in the financially challenged sector of our society, who cannot afford the fees for the hospital. So he was very happy to know about it, but also keen to know how we can expand it. And that is the reason why he wants the hospital in Varanasi. He wants it in all parts of India as much as possible. So that is his interest in trying to see uh, that we can save as many children as possible, because children are our future. And therefore, I think he keeps asking about that whenever we meet. How is it going? How are you all? How many children have have you managed to have surgeries on? How many? What is the success rate, etc.? And our success rate is more than 99%. I met him, I think, maybe about a year ago, and this was again for inviting him for the inauguration of the Mudan Ali College. And after that, no, I haven't had the pleasure and the honor of meeting him. But I totally understand. He's a very busy man. Uh, it is just heartening to know that the hospital and the work that the Sai Sanjeevani is doing is in his conscious. That is all we ask for. That he's aware of it, and that because he's always been available whenever we've asked him for a meeting. He actually also, when the Sai Sanjeevani Hospital was opened in Fiji, he sent a message. The Prime Minister of Fiji was to open the hospital in Fiji, but Prime Minister Modi also sent a message on that occasion. So I mean, that is so heartening to know that the Prime Minister of the country is taking such a keen interest in what we are doing. I would like to wish the Prime Minister Modi is a long life, long, healthy life, a productive life, as we have seen so far. And his dream of Viksit Bharat will become a reality sooner than the target date that he has set, and that India continues to prosper, to grow healthier and wealthier and peaceful along the way as well. So that these are my wishes for the Prime Minister.